Have you ever reached the end of a week and thought, I did nothing dramatic, so why do I feel so exhausted and empty? Have you ever asked yourself, if my life is supposed to be moving forward, why does it feel like I keep repeating the same chapter? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share an idea that sounds playful on the surface but becomes deeply serious once you really sit with it. What if you are not simply living day to day, but moving through a series of levels? Like a long journey where every stage is testing your mind, your heart, your habits, and your karma. The first point is this. Most people think life is mainly about events, but life is more about responses. Events come and go. Your responses become your character. Your character becomes your destiny. The second point is this. You do not fail a level because you are unlucky. You fail because you keep bringing the same entrained mind into every new situation. When the mind stays the same, the lesson repeats. When the mind changes, the level changes. Now let me tell you a story. I will call the main character Ryan. Ryan was not a dramatic person. He was not constantly chasing big thrills or huge achievements. If you looked at his life from the outside, it seemed normal. He worked, paid bills, scrolled at night, met friends sometimes, worried about money, worried about relationships, worried about his future, and tried to relax on weekends. Normal, but inside, he carried a strange feeling that he could never fully explain. He felt like life was heavy even when nothing terrible was happening. He felt like he was always slightly behind, slightly rushed, slightly anxious, like his mind was living one step away from the present moment. Some days he tried to fix it with productivity. He watched videos about success and self-improvement. He downloaded new apps. He tried to plan his life harder. Some days he tried to fix it with escape. He binged shows. He ate snacks late at night. He scrolled until his eyes burned. He told himself he deserved it because life was stressful. The problem was that both methods had the same hidden shape. They were both driven by the same belief. If I can just control the outside more, I will finally feel safe inside. But safety does not come only from controlling the outside. Safety comes from training the inside. If the inside isn't trained, even a perfect outside cannot create peace. And if the inside is trained, even an imperfect outside becomes manageable. Ryan did not know that yet. One day, a small event happened that became his turning point. A small event, not a dramatic crisis. He was at the grocery store, standing in a line that moved slowly. The cashier was new and made a mistake with a price. The person in front of Ryan started to complain loudly. The cashier looked nervous. The line stalled. Everyone sighed. Ryan felt his chest tighten. He felt the urge to join the irritation, to roll his eyes, to make a comment, to release his stress onto the easiest target. You know that moment, the moment where you feel a hot wave rising inside and you want to dump it somewhere. Ryan had done this many times in life, not always loudly, sometimes silently, sometimes through sarcasm, sometimes through complaining to friends later, sometimes through harsh thoughts. But that day, for reasons he could not explain, he paused. He simply paused and watched his own mind. He noticed the irritation. He noticed the tightness. He noticed the story forming in his head. People are incompetent. This is wasting my time. I hate this. Life always blocks me. Then he noticed something else. The cashier was not his enemy. The cashier was a human being under pressure. And he noticed something deeper. His irritation was not really about the price mistake. It was about his whole life stress, seeking a place to leak. That is awakening. Awakening is when you see the real source of your reaction instead of believing the surface story. Ryan took a slow breath. He said nothing. When the cashier finally fixed the mistake, the cashier looked like they were about to cry. Ryan surprised himself. He smiled and said, "You are doing fine. Take your time." The cashier looked up, stunned, then nodded quietly. The line moved. Ryan paid and left. It was such a small moment that most people would forget it. But Ryan did not forget it. Because he felt something new. He felt lighter. Not because the world changed. The line was still slow. The mistake still happened. His schedule still existed. But he did not add extra suffering. He did not throw gasoline on the fire. He did not create more heat in his own heart. And then the thought came to him like a whisper. What if this was a test? Not a test from a cruel universe. A test built into life itself. A test of compassion, patience, and self-control. That thought stayed with him. And because it stayed, he started seeing similar moments everywhere. In traffic, when someone cut him off, he felt the urge to curse. He paused and asked, "Is this a test?" At work, when someone criticized him, he felt the urge to defend and attack. He paused and asked, "Is this a test?" At home, when he felt lonely and wanted to scroll late into the night, he paused and asked, "Is this a test?" The question did something powerful. It created distance between Ryan and his impulses. It turned automatic reactions into choices. Choices are where karma changes. Now let me explain why this idea is so important. Because it connects directly to wisdom, practice, and destiny. Most people think karma is a mysterious system that rewards and punishes. But karma is much closer than that. Karma is the momentum your mind builds through repetition. If you repeatedly react with anger, anger becomes your default. That default shapes your relationships. That shapes your opportunities. That shapes your health. That shapes your destiny. If you repeatedly react with avoidance, avoidance becomes your default. That default shapes your skill level. That shapes your courage. That shapes your intimacy. That shapes your destiny. If you repeatedly react with patience and compassion, patience and compassion become your default. That default shapes everything. So when we say life is like passing levels, we mean that each level is asking you to develop a new inner skill. If you do not develop it, you repeat the same level in different forms. That is why people feel stuck. They think they need a new job, a new partner, a new city, a new hobby. Sometimes those changes help, but often the same lesson follows them because the lesson is in the mind. Ryan began to see patterns in his own life. He noticed that whenever he felt powerless, he tried to regain power through control. He controlled by criticizing others. He controlled by being harsh with himself. He controlled by obsessing over play. He controlled by escaping into stimulation. This controlling mind made him tired. So he decided to practice one new ability. The ability to tolerate discomfort without immediately reacting. This is a spiritual skill. In Buddhism, you could connect it to mindfulness, equanimity. In everyday language, it is the ability to hold steady. Ryan started small. When he felt anxious, he did not instantly check his phone. He waited 60 seconds and breathed. When he felt irritated, he did not instantly speak. He waited for one breath. When he felt lonely, he did not instantly scroll. He stood up, drank water, and walked for 5 minutes. At first, this felt like nothing. Not impressive, but small is how you pass levels. The mind is not transformed by one huge heroic moment. The mind is transformed by tiny repeated returns. Return to breath. Return to kindness. Return to restraint. Return to clarity. Ryan began to notice something else. When he stopped reacting instantly, he started hearing what his emotions were actually saying. Anger was often saying, "I feel disrespected." Anxiety was often saying, "I fear losing control." Loneliness was often saying, "I crave connection." Craving was often saying, "I want relief right now." When you can hear the message, you can respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. This is the difference between living like a sleepwalker and living like a practitioner. A sleepwalker reacts, then regrets. A practitioner sees, then chooses. Now let me deepen the story with another chapter. Because every level you pass unlocks a harder level. After Ryan practiced these small pauses for a while, life gave him a bigger test. A friend betrayed him in a subtle way. Not a dramatic betrayal like stealing money. A quieter betrayal. The friend shared something private about Ryan with others, turning it into gossip. Ryan found out through a third person. His stomach dropped. His face got hot. He felt the urge to destroy the friendship publicly, to expose the friend, to attack with words so sharp that the friend would feel the same pain. This is a common karmic fork. One path is to react from ego. Ego wants revenge. Ego wants to win. Ego wants the other person to suffer. The other path is to respond from wisdom. Wisdom wants clarity, boundaries, and protection, without poisoning the heart. Ryan sat alone that night, feeling the heat and sadness. He asked himself the new question again. Is this a test? Then he asked a deeper question. What kind of person do I want to become because of this? This is the question that changes destiny. Because destiny is not only what happens to you. Destiny is what you become in response. Ryan decided to speak to the friend privately. He did not smile. He did not pretend everything was fine. Compassion does not mean pretending harm is not harm. He told the friend calmly what happened. He told the friend it hurt. He told the friend trust was damaged. He told the friend there would be distance unless there was sincere repair. The friend tried to defend, then realized Ryan was not playing a drama game. Ryan was calm, and calm is hard to argue with. Eventually the friend apologized. But the most important part is not whether the friend apologized. The most important part is that Ryan passed a level. He defended his dignity without cruelty. He set boundaries without hatred. He stayed honest without becoming toxic. That is a high-level skill. Many people either explode and burn everything, or they swallow everything and lose themselves. The middle way is to stay clear and kind. Now, you might be asking, what does this have to do with everyday life? Everything. Because every day gives you small tests that train you for bigger one. If you cannot pause before snapping at a cashier, you will struggle to pause before ruining a relationship. If you cannot resist scrolling for 1 minute, you will struggle to resist bigger forms of craving. If you cannot speak kindly in small annoyance, you will struggle to speak wisely in real conflict. So the concept of levels is not a fantasy. It is a way to see training opportunities. Now let me shift from story into a deeper reflection, because I want you to feel the spiritual weight here. What is a level? Spiritually, a level is a stage of your consciousness. At one level, you believe emotions are commands. At a higher level, you recognize emotions as waves. At one level, you believe you must win every moment. At a higher level, you recognize that peace is a better victory. At one level, you believe other people control your happiness. At a higher level, you recognize that your mind shapes your experience. At one level, you believe kindness is weakness. At a higher level, you recognize kindness as power because it protects your karma. At one level, you believe destiny is fixed. At a higher level, you recognize destiny is cultivated. This is why practice matters. Practice is not about pretending life is perfect. Practice is about training the mind so life becomes workable. Now let me describe how Ryan started to see daily life differently. When he woke up tired, he used to say, "This day is ruined." Now he said, "This is a level about discipline. Can I do one wholesome thing anyway?" When he felt envy, he used to say, "Life is unfair." Now he said, "This is a level about gratitude. Can I appreciate what I have without shrinking?" When he felt craving for instant pleasure, he used to obey. Now he said, "This is a level about restraint. Can I protect tomorrow?" When he felt the urge to gossip, he used to join. Now he said, "This is a level about speech karma. Can I speak in a way that does not poison my life?" Each time he chose differently. He felt a strange, quiet pride. Not the ego pride of showing off. The inner dignity of someone who is finally steering their own life. This is the secret reward of passing levels. You begin to respect yourself, and self-respect is not vanity. Self-respect is stability. When you respect yourself, you stop selling your peace for cheap pleasures. Now, I want to add another layer that makes this even more real. Life does not always test you with obvious negativity. Sometimes life tests you with comfort. A sudden opportunity can be a test. Praise can be a test. Money can be a test. Attention can be a test. Ryan experienced this too. After he became calmer and more reliable, he started doing better at work. He received recognition. People started inviting him into better projects. At first he felt happy. Then a new temptation arrived. He started thinking, I am better than others now. I am more evolved. I am more disciplined. I am special. That thought is poison. Because pride creates blindness. Pride creates arrogance. Arrogance creates careless behavior. Careless behavior creates downfall. So Ryan realized there are levels of success too. If you cannot stay humble, success becomes a trap. He began practicing humility as another level. He reminded himself that his growth was supported by many conditions. Teachers, friends, opportunities, even mistakes that forced him to learn. He practiced gratitude. Gratitude is a spiritual shield. Gratitude keeps your heart soft. A soft heart keeps your mind clear. A clear mind keeps your destiny stable. Now let me bring this back to you. Because you might be thinking, this sounds nice, but how do I use it when my life is messy? Use it exactly when it is messy. When you feel overwhelmed, do not ask for a perfect plan. Ask, what is the level right now? If you are overwhelmed by clutter, the level might be order and completion. If you are overwhelmed by conflict, the level might be right speech and patience. If you are overwhelmed by craving, the level might be restraint and self-compassion. If you are overwhelmed by fear, the level might be courage and trust. Life often gives you the level you need, not the level you want. That is why people feel attacked by life. They say, why is this happening to me? But what if it is happening for you? In the sense that it is exposing where you still leak energy. A leak is not shame. A leak is information. When you find a leak, you can seal it. When you seal it, you gain energy. When you gain energy, you can pass a higher level. This is how awakening becomes practical. Now I want to share a final story that brings the whole teaching into one moment. One evening, months after his first grocery store awakening, Ryan was walking home and saw a man yelling at a bus driver. The bus driver was calm but looked tired. The yelling man was furious about a delay. People on the bus looked tense. Ryan stood outside watching. He felt the old urge rise, the urge to judge, the urge to feel superior, the urge to think, what a terrible person. Then he paused. He asked, is this a test? The test was not about the yelling man. The test was about Ryan Hart. Could he see suffering without contempt? He realized the yelling man was suffering. Not in a poetic way. In a very real way. A life full of stress. Maybe poverty. Maybe shame. Maybe pain. Pouring out in the easiest direction. Ryan did not excuse the behavior. He did not romanticize it. He simply felt compassion. And something changed in him. He felt less bitterness toward the world. Bitterness is a heavy chain. It makes you feel older than your age. It makes your world small. Compassion is the opposite. Compassion expands your inner space. It does not make you naive. It makes you free. Ryan walked home quietly and thought, so many people are failing levels without knowing they are in a game. They think life is attacking them. But life is training them. And then he thought something even deeper. Maybe my whole life has been training me to wake up. That is the essence. You are not only passing levels to get rewards. You are passing levels to become awake. Awake means you live with wisdom. You live with compassion. You live with cause and effect in mind. You live with the ability to choose instead of react. Now we are at the end, and I want to speak to you like a friend. If you feel stuck, it might not mean you are cursed. It might mean you are repeating a lesson. The lesson could be about patience. It could be about boundaries. It could be about speech. It could be about restraint. It could be about humility. It could be about forgiveness. It could be about courage. Whatever it is, you can pass it. Not by forcing yourself with shame, by practicing with compassion. And the simplest practice is this. When something triggers you today, pause. Ask, what level is this? Then choose one response that is slightly wiser than your default. Do this enough times, and you will notice something that feels almost magical. Life stops feeling like a prison. Life starts feeling like a path. Now I want to hear from you. What level do you feel you are stuck on right now? Is it anger, fear, craving, discipline, speech, or something else? Share your story in the comments. Someone reading might realize they are not alone. And that realization can be the first step of awakening. If this video gave you something real, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps more people find these long-form teachings about wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and destiny. And if you want to support the work more deeply, you can become a channel member. Your support keeps these long videos alive. Thank you for staying with me. Pass the next level gently. And I will see you in the next one. Article 10. Generated 2025-12-25-1740 for 33. Do you think fortune telling means will I get rich? What if the most accurate prediction is your daily intention? Have you ever asked someone to predict your future, hoping for one clear answer, only to feel even more anxious afterward? Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control destiny, the more destiny seems to slip through your fingers? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about fortune telling, but not in the way most people think. Many people imagine fortune telling as one question. Will I get rich? Will I succeed? Will my relationship last? Will I be lucky? But the deeper teaching, the one that changes a life, is this. The most accurate fortune telling is not what someone says about your future. The most accurate fortune telling is what you do with your mind every day. Because your mind creates causes. Causes create results. Results look like destiny, but they are often simply the visible shape of invisible habits. Let me start with a story. I will call the main character Claire. Claire had always been curious about the future, not because she was foolish, because she was human. She grew up in a home where stability was uncertain. Her parents argued about money. Plans changed quickly. Promises were broken. As a child, she learned one lesson deeply. Anything can collapse. That lesson made her anxious, and anxiety made her hungry for certainty. So when she became an adult, she started seeking answers. She read horoscopes. She watched prediction. She asked spiritual readers. She checked signs. She looked for numbers and symbols. Every time she got a positive prediction, she felt relief. Every time she got a negative one, she felt panic. Then she did what many anxious people do. She kept checking. Checking became a ritual. A ritual that felt like safety. But it was not safety. It was addiction to certainty. The problem with addiction to certainty is that life can never satisfy it. Life is change. Life is impermanence. So the mind that demands certainty becomes a mind that suffers. Claire did not realize that yet. One day she visited a fortune teller recommended by a friend. The room was quiet. The reader looked calm. Claire asked the classic question, "Will I become wealthy?" The reader looked at her and said something that surprised her. "You can become wealthy, but if your mind is not trained, the wealth will not keep you peaceful. And if your mind is trained, you can be peaceful even before wealth arrives." Claire felt annoyed. She wanted numbers. She wanted timing. She wanted a clear yes or no. The reader continued, "Your future is not only a road you walk onto. Your future is a garden you water. So tell me, what do you water every day? Claire did not know how to answer. The reader asked again, softer. When you wake up, what is your first thought? When someone disagrees with you, what is your first reaction? When you feel stressed, what is your first escape? When you feel lonely, what do you reach for? When you have power, how do you treat others? Claire sat very still. This was not fortune-telling like she expected. This was inner diagnosis. This was karma. Because karma is exactly this, the pattern of what you repeatedly water. If you water greed, you grow restlessness. If you water resentment, you grow conflict. If you water distraction, you grow emptiness. If you water discipline, you grow stability. If you water generosity, you grow support. If you water compassion, you grow peace. This is not poetry. It is practical. A greedy mind chases quick profit and makes risky decisions. Risky decisions create loss. Loss creates panic. Panic creates more grasping. That cycle becomes a destiny. A resentful mind speaks harshly, breaks trust, and creates enemies. Enemies create obstacles. Obstacles create stress. Stress creates more harshness. That cycle becomes a destiny. A distracted mind avoids deep work and avoids deep relationships. Avoidance prevents accumulation. Without accumulation, life feels unstable. Instability creates anxiety. Anxiety increases distraction. That cycle becomes a destiny. A disciplined mind completes tasks, protects sleep, and builds skill. Skill creates value. Value creates opportunity. Opportunity creates stability. Stability supports calm. That cycle becomes a destiny. A generous mind builds trust, builds goodwill, builds allies. Allies create opportunities, support, and resilience. That cycle becomes a destiny. So when we say the most accurate fortune-telling is your daily intention, we mean something very specific. Intention shapes action. Action shapes habit. Habit shapes character. Character shapes destiny. Claire left the room feeling confused and strangely awake. She had wanted a prediction. She received a mirror. For the first time, she began to suspect that the future was not hiding from her. The future was being built by her, quietly, through thousands of small choices. Now let me deepen this teaching, because many people misunderstand intention. Intention is not only what you say you want. Intention is the emotional engine behind your action. Two people can do the same thing, and the karma can be different. One person works hard because they want to serve and build. Another works hard because they fear being worthless. The outer action looks similar. The inner intention is different. Different intention creates different consequences. One person gives money to help. Another gives money to be praised. The outer action looks similar. The inner intention is different. Different intention creates different karma. One person speaks truth to heal. Another speaks truth to humiliate. The sentence might even be identical. The intention changes the entire energetic result. This is why intention is so powerful. It is the invisible steering wheel. Now, many people ask, if intention matters so much, why do bad people sometimes get rich? This is an important question. Let us answer it with clarity. First, some people do get short-term results through harmful action. That is real. Life is complex. Not every consequence arrives immediately. But harmful action often creates hidden costs. They may gain money but lose trust. They may gain power but gain enemies. They may gain pleasure but lose health. They may gain applause but lose sleep. They may gain success but live in fear of collapse. Also, harmful causes tend to create instability. Even if the person stays rich, their inner world can become a battlefield. So again, the question is not only, will I get rich? The deeper question is, what kind of life will I live inside whatever I get? A calm life is a blessing. A life of paranoia is a prison. Now let me return to Claire. because her story shows how daily intention becomes destiny in a very practical way. Claire decided to run an experiment for 30 days. She would stop asking the future to comfort her. She would start training the causes of a better future. Every morning, she would set one intention. Today I will not act from fear. Today I will not speak from contempt. Today I will not escape with compulsive stimulation. Today I will do one wholesome action, even if small. Then she would try to keep it. At first, she failed often. Not because she was hopeless, but because her habits were strong. Habits are karma. Karma is momentum. Momentum does not stop instantly. But she kept practicing. She noticed that her biggest leak was her inner speech. She spoke to herself harshly. She treated herself like an enemy. That harshness created stress. Stress made her seek quick comfort. Quick comfort made her feel guilty. Guilt made her harsher. The loop was tight, so she changed one thing. When she caught herself speaking cruelly to herself, she paused and replaced the sentence with something compassionate and honest. I made a mistake, and I can repair it. I feel fear, and I can breathe. I do not need to punish myself to improve. I can choose one wise step now. This seems small, but it changed her nervous system. It reduced background stress. Reduced stress reduced craving. Reduced craving increased clarity. Clarity improved her choices. Within weeks, Claire noticed she was making different decisions at work. She stopped procrastinating as much. She stopped avoiding hard conversations. She stopped seeking constant reassurance. She became more reliable. Reliable people get opportunities. This is social karma. People trust what feels steady. She also noticed her relationships changed. She became less reactive. When her partner said something that used to trigger her, she paused. She asked herself, what intention do I want to plant here? She chose to respond with clarity and kindness instead of attack. The relationship became calmer. A calmer relationship created more emotional stability. Emotional stability improved her focus. Focus improved her work. Better work created better results. Better results created more confidence. Confidence reduced her need for fortune telling. Do you see the chain? One intention changes one reaction. One reaction changes one habit. One habit changes one relationship. One relationship changes one life condition. One life condition changes what looks like destiny. This is why daily intention is the most accurate prediction. Now, I want to be very clear. This teaching does not mean you control everything. Life includes randomness. Life includes other people's choices. Life includes unexpected illness, loss, and change. We cannot control all events, but we can control how we plant seeds. In Buddhism, there is a view that even if you cannot control the weather, you can choose how you hold the umbrella. You can choose whether you curse the rain or accept it. You can choose whether you use rain as an excuse to hate life, or as a reminder to be grateful for shelter. That choice is intention. Intention is freedom. Now let us talk about the biggest trap in fortune telling. The trap is not the practice itself. The trap is using it as an excuse to avoid responsibility. Some people ask for predictions because they want to outsource their life. Tell me if I will succeed so I do not have to commit. Tell me if this relationship is right so I do not have to communicate. Tell me if my luck is bad so I do not have to change my habits. That is avoidance. Avoidance is a karmic leak. It drains destiny. The wiser approach is different. Use any spiritual tool as a mirror, not as a chain. A mirror shows you what is happening. A chain tells you what you must be. If you believe a prediction is fate, you become passive or panicked. Both are suffering. If you treat life as cultivation, you become active with humility. You plant seeds while accepting impermanence. That is peace. Now, I want to offer a final image that will help you remember this teaching. Imagine your mind as a brush, and every day you paint a little of your future. Anger paints conflict. Greed paints restlessness. Fear paints avoidance. Compassion paints trust. Discipline paints stability. Gratitude paints warmth. Wisdom paints clarity. Over time, the painting becomes your life. So when you ask, what will my destiny be? The most honest answer is this: look at what you paint every day. If you do not like the picture, do not panic. Do not hate yourself. Simply change the brushstroke. One breath, one kind word, one honest boundary, one small act of generosity, one moment of restraint, one moment of mindfulness. This is practice. This is awakening. This is karma transforming. Now I want to hear from you. If you could predict your future by looking at one daily habit, which habit would you look at first? And what intention do you want to plant tomorrow morning? Before the world pulls you into speed and distraction, share your story in the comments. Your intention might inspire someone else to stop outsourcing their life and start cultivating it. If this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps more people find these long-form teachings about wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and destiny. And if you want to support the work more deeply, you can become a channel member. Your support keeps these long videos alive. Thank you for staying with me. Your future is not only predicted, it is practiced.
Every person carries a certain energy. Your focus, your dreams, your purpose. Bracelet is a physical reminder of that energy. Symbol you wear daily, that pushes you to stay grounded, balanced, and aligned. If one of the bracelets caught your eye, you can order it through the link in the description. And check more powerful styles on our homepage store. Choose the one that strengthens your journey.